about 2 months now.
2 months, yeah. Nah, we can all relate, man. It's been.
You take it out for a tenner.
For a tenner.
I take my hat off. I don't know, you know. It depends.
Take your hood off for a tenner, girl.
Depends.
No.
The tenner.
No. If you gave me maybe for £50, maybe.
Like, to reveal your hair.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are?
That's a sight. That's a sight, man. It's for people's enjoyment because I look crusty right now. You're just happy because you got someone to cut your hair.
I've seen you without your hood. You're not that bad, if I'm honest.
I'm terrible, man. You're just a nice friend.
Would you get strange for a piece of change? That's the question, mate.
Huh?
And by strange, I mean take off that hood. Gabs, I haven't seen your head.
There's no need, man. There's no need to see my head, man. Technically, you guys saw it when I said hello to our friend, didn't it? In that video.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say that, yeah. Like, how did you film that? That really, like, did you film that before the quarantine, just in case?
No. It was just good lighting. There was just good lighting. It just didn't look that bad, you know. But yeah.
I'm quite lucky though, because my thing's alright.
Yeah, because you just got a trim. Like that's the thing.
Is your girl still cutting your hair?
Yeah, she done it still. She done it skin fade this time. It's alright still. I think it's about a week and a half ago now.
Oh, it must be nice.
Well, that's nice, bro. I'm not like it's stressed because when we were going through it, I can't see the sides and I can't see the back, even though there's a mirror there. I'm just trying to look. I'm like, please take a picture of it right now. Like progress as she was going along. I was like, no.
I don't think I could ever let my girl cut my hair. I think that's just I'm just asking for an argument. I'd lock it off. Honestly, if she cut my hair off, I'd say, you know what?
Is it that serious for you?
It did cause her out. It did cause her out only because I was getting a bit stressed. She's like, I'm doing you a favor. You're getting rude. I was like, it's my head. It's my head.
No, don't do that. Don't do. You see, that's the thing. Like and girls want to play that card. Like, I'm doing you a favor. I'm doing this for you. Just like my hairline. Yeah, we have to part ways. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is, you can't annoy her though because it could get really quite peak for you.
No, you can't piss her off while you're in the chair. No. You got to keep it sweet the whole time. The whole time.
Wait, did you suggest it?
Do you like it? I was like, yeah. Say again, Gabs.
Did you suggest it? Did you suggest that she trims it, or she did?
The first trim, I got a 2 on top and I got level 1 on the sides. That was her idea because she's watched a couple of YouTube videos. I was like, fuck it.
Oh no, it's just you can get rude, bro, because he's like you're coming to me, you're suggesting it, like
he's doing levels.
Say again, Lamar.
He's doing levels and everything. Like she knows.
Bro, she done her skin fade, bro. She done her thing. I can't lie. The second one was better. This one was lit.
But where's her certificates? Where's she been trained? What school did she study under?
No, my barber FaceTimed her. That was it.
Lie.
What?
I just called him up. It was my boy in it, so I just FaceTimed him quick and said, "Bro, talk her through this, please, because you know what I'm saying. I'm not trying to. Cause we had to go to the shops as well the same day. I just said to her, go by yourself until you finish this trip. If you're rushing, you want to go to the shops, go. I'm not coming with you because you're hot. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not even done it. And I think
you gave her a skill for life. So when she breaks up with you and she goes out with her next nigga, she'll know how to cut his hair.
Fuck off.
Huh?
You know, yeah, I got her drinking bigger.
It's all right. It's okay.
I made her try bigger yesterday.
What? She never tried it?
Nah, she never tried it, fam.
Oh, what she think?
She loves it, bro. We had rum in it, innit? I put some rum in it.
Has she tried KA?
Yeah. That's what she thought it would be like. She thought it would be like KA fruit punch. I said, nah, man, bigger's and proper things. Like, it's proper. And then we just saved the bottles. So if you see me drinking this, you just know I got a potion in there.
When he starts slurring his words later.
Yeah, I can see his eyes closing.
Come on, kick us off. Why don't you?
Right, okay. What's going on, people? Hello, Zebra Crossers. Hello, Quarantine Zeshers. We are Zebra Crossing. We're here for the 7th episode, and this episode is called Is America Racist? So I'll just get straight into it. In February.
You need to introduce our...
No introduction, none of this. Like we're not important to this guy, bro.
I'm not
I know
gonna.
this is
Way more important than racism.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
But no, but
Wait. I'm not gonna lie to you. Racism in America might be a little bit more important than you guys. But I was gonna come back around. But I will introduce these guys. So we've got our special guest here. He's been on a few times. Montel, say hi to people.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. I hope everyone's keeping safe.
And we've got the boogie with a hoodie, Gabriel.
Yep. You say.
Who will not take off that hat.
I
Haven't seen his. I don't even know if there's hair under there anymore. And we have Anthony Boyle.
You never give me a nice nickname. This is like the third. It's like the third week in a row now.
And I don't know what to call you.
No. One of the weeks, I felt insulted. You called me lovely. You said the lovely Ant. You joking?
You are lovely.
Some big, cool name for Gav, and you said I was lovely. Am I your mum?
What's wrong?
Am I your auntie? What's going on?
All right, look. I don't know. It's the Big Dick Destroyer. I don't know. I don't know what you want me to call you.
I'm not no English teacher for me being called lovely out here. Next week, I want a proper introduction.
All I'm saying is it's not best. You know what? Furthermore, next week I will introduce you properly.
Let's call him the Cheeks Destroyer. What do you want? The Cheeks Destroyer. Like what?
Yeah, I don't know what he wants.
That would be inaccurate for me.
Yeah, this is Ant, and we are Zebra Crossing. So, boys, we all know what we're here to discuss. Something horrible happened on the 23rd of February in the USA, Georgia. The killing of Ahmaud Arbery. So, actually,
rest in peace.
I'm just gonna share my screen, so guys, tell me when you can see this, and I'll take you through a little timeline leading up to these events. So let's see if I can do a little thing here. Can you see my shit right now?
I can see it.
Right, okay. So we'll start. I mean, this is they've called this the Black Lives Matter timeline, and it's just all the terrible things that have happened to Black America since 2012. So we got Jordan Davis was shot in Jacksonville, Florida. That was in 2012, November. And we keep going. Eric Garner, that was another famous one. That was in New York, 2014. Remember his famous quote, "I can't breathe."
Yeah.
And a lot of people caught that on videotape. John Crawford, killed by police at Walmart in Ohio. You go down, that was in 2014. Freddie Gray, arrested in Baltimore. Dies after sustaining injuries in police custody. Seeing sort of a common theme here. Anton Sterling, shot 5 times in the chest, close range by the police. This was in 2016. As we keep going, 5 officers are killed by a sniper at Black Lives Matter protests in Dallas. So it's not just affecting civilians, it's affecting the police as well. And then if we go to 2019 in February, we can get to the piece that we're going to talk about today. So for those who don't know the story around this, on February 23rd, a 25-year-old man called Ahmaud Arbery was running in his town in Georgia, USA, when he was sighted by 2 white males, a father and son called Gregory and Travis McMichael. Gregory was a former police officer. They saw him and thought that he resembled someone who had broken into their house previously. They then got into a truck, pursued him, then began to wrestle with him. In self-defense, he wrestled back. He was then shot down. So I guess before I reveal why, let's see if any of you guys know, and we'll just get this up. Why did it take so long to convict him? He hasn't been convicted. It took until May. This happened in February. So if you guys want to talk around that.
I don't know if Montel wants to start, but I, doing my research, as you say, Gregory was in the police. I know how countries are about their people who used to be in the police and that. There's a camaraderie, which to an extent I understand. And plus, I think because it didn't get that attention. Like for me, when I saw the video, it made me sick, and I thought it was like very, very recent, like last week. But then when I came to find out that was in February, I was like, wow, is it only getting attention because this footage is only now coming out and the world is seeing it, or is that, or if there was like a progress in the case and now justice is being done? But I like to think that because we've seen it, like somebody across the pond, we're all seeing it and we're all disgusted, and celebrities all over the world are seeing it, and I think this is just crazy. I just feel like now the police are under pressure, like thinking, oh, hold on, this happened in February, and it's cut that the guy wasn't doing anything wrong, and then but it's so sad, so sad.
I'm on the same page as Gabs. I do believe that it's due to the traction that it's received globally, and again, where America is so big, it's kind of like it could have been swept under the rug because quite a few states and areas made, especially what is it Georgia, right?
Yeah.
And obviously Atlanta is predominantly a black area, but it happened just outside Atlanta, a bit further down in the state. So it kind of makes you think that where it was as well, the probably local police, like Gab says, Zach, we're looking after one of our own kind of thing. And then it come to a point where it caught global, well, firstly national traction in the States. Then when it did reach the pinnacle where it is now, like Gab said, I thought this happened when it happened. I thought it happened like the day I see the video kind of thing. I thought I was shit on it. Like I thought I was hot on it. I thought, yo, wow, another one again. Here we go. In quarantine. Like imagine that, just going for a run in quarantine, and it's till you actually do the research and find out, whoa, they're sat on this for a little while.
Yeah.
They sat on it for a little while. It's kind of like, what was the reasons for sitting on it? It's just because is it important anymore? Is it another story, another case kind of thing? You're thinking it's just another one, really. And that's what kind of upsets me even more, the fact that his family probably were going through this since February, and the world finds out, and then, like Gab said, the justice comes now. But it's what about the rest of it? What about the 3 months of just silence, confusion, no acknowledgement, nothing, and they're silent battling? That's what upsets me the most.
I know they say that when you do receive justice eventually, that it always feels like, you know, it's rightful and you feel like you deserve it, but it must feel a bit bittersweet that imagine hearing that your son, daughter, relative was shot down in cold blood, wrongfully for doing absolutely nothing, and it seems like an open and shut case, and you still have to fight. It still has to gain major media attention just for two men to get prosecuted and arrested for the crime. So you guys have raised some points, and I'll show my screen again. So this is why they're saying that it took so long. So there's actually been 4 attorneys that have been put on this case since it came about. So that was part of the reason. So every time that they had someone to prosecute them, they kept getting pulled out and put back in. One of the reasons was the first 2 attorneys that they had on it were actually they were in some relation with one of the McMichaels, the police officer. So they couldn't be on the case because they were too close to the family. The other one, the third prosecutor, he was actually pulled off because it gained such media, like global media attention. He was actually taken off because they said that the case was too big for him to make a just decision. So that delayed it even further.
Yeah.
Also, they were saying, a lot of people are saying, is it conspiracy because, you know, they were police officers? Is it also a media cover-up? Because I can imagine in southern states, in Georgia, where we know that there's racial turmoil all over America, but especially in the South. So imagine hearing from a police officer that someone's been shot down. You'd want to cover that up, 100%. Yeah. I don't want to speculate, but it sounds like something along those lines. So I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
No, I agree with you, but sorry to cut you, Ant. It's kind of like it was a dash cam, right, that caught the incident, right?
So what is the story behind that? So I saw it a couple of days ago on Live Leak. Have you guys ever been on Live Leak? It's a really good site. It can be a bit gory, but it's basically like raw news video, because you're not really allowed to post videos like that on news sites. So when like news stories happen, or whether it's like terrorist attacks or these sorts of things, right, they will get posted on Live Leak. But I saw it on that, right, and it was confusing because it didn't seem like a dash cam. It seemed like someone heard something and just drove up, because there was some controlling the camera. Someone drove up and was kind of following what was going on, and it was and I don't know why it took so long for that footage to come out, or like.
That's what my point was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
Why was this video suppressed? Why was it suppressed? Why was it sat on? Why was it not? Why did it not get the traction it deserved? What did the media outlets slow it down? Did social media? How did social media not get hold of this earlier? Was there external influences?
This is the big problem, right? Because I think there's a lot of factors. Just to describe my situation with this story, when it came out, and people are like, "Why is this not global news?" I was thinking, yeah, this should be big news because it's ridiculous. But then I was thinking, oh yeah, because it's quarantine, like there's bigger stuff going on. But then, like you said, I realized that it happened in February, and I was like, then why was this not a big deal in February? And it made me think, like you talk about media cover up, and police cover up, and I think there is a tendency, because I've seen loads of documentaries where certain states, the police are just like the mafia, because they can not necessarily it's not necessarily covering up a crime, it's more so underreporting what happened or something like that, right? Where so like something mad could happen, but like the media would just say, oh, altercation in such and such street results in death, and that would be the end of it. But there's so many more layers to it, so I don't know, it's really confusing, and I think there's a lot of more questions that need to be answered.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. They actually said that so 2 Glen County commissioners say that sort of so they tried to cover up the arrest. They said that so when the police station that he was supposed to get arrested from, they said that they covered it up because of his previous history. So one of the McMichaels was obviously a police officer. So they said that there was a halt on his arrest because of that. Now they're trying to deny it and say that that was never the case. But obviously something must have halted the process if it's happened in February.
I could easily believe it had because you know the most broken thing about America's policing system is that loads of them run on quotas where they have to hit certain numbers or keep percentages down. So that I could totally see a situation where they've seen what's happened, right? And they were like, they went to the men who killed Ahmaud, and they were like, okay, so if you just say that there was an altercation and the gun slipped, we'll give you a 3rd-degree manslaughter charge of something minor, and just get on with it, because then it can keep the thing down, because no one's going to believe that because it's a white man or a black man, they'll probably just think it's an altercation. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, there's sorry, go on.
No, but don't you think it's sad, like, as we're not part of the legal system or anything, but we're just ordinary civilians, or just a human being. But I don't see how you're a normal human being and you can watch that video and you just don't think to yourself, this is just sick. Like, police or not, like, one of your own or not, like, the guy was minding his business, like, and he's fighting for his life. He don't know these 2 white men. They come with guns, and he's fighting for his life, and he's not coming back home to his family. You don't know.
You have to think, right? Sorry, Gabs, but you have to think, like, in America, right? To have the entitlement, the confidence to do that, to get into a truck and race down of a different race, they must have felt like it was within their right, and that the law wouldn't really touch them if anything had happened. Do you know how hard it is to get out and shoot someone? You know, the thing is, you can't cover up murders these days. Forensics is
too good,
too sophisticated. You can't do it. But they weren't trying to cover up a murder. They were trying to openly murder someone.
It's execution, bro.
But it was okay. Yeah, exactly. For them, it was their right as Americans, as white Americans.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. We were talking about this last week.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But we're saying this is an execution. How is it that anyone that sees this video, it runs my stomach the wrong way, that you think to yourself, like, you used to be a police officer or not, yeah, that we have a moral high ground that we have to protect civilians. And you did this to civilian, whether he's black, white, or Asian, or orange, or whatever color. And you did this. I just don't know how you cannot have that compassion where you think
But I don't think that that's his thought process. I don't think that he.
No, I can.
It's his Second Amendment right.
You could probably guess what really happened, right? Because what happened was they seen the man jogging because they're just racist to go, oh, that's that black guy that's been robbing our house, or whatever. They drive down the street. They have the gun in the pouch in their lap, whatever, and they pull up beside him and they're like, "Come, let us talk to you. Let us talk to you." And what are you going to do if you're him? You're going to be shitting yourself. You probably see the gun, and you probably start running, or you're like, "Go away." Them two hop out the car and try jumping, basically. And you can see in the video because like then he's trying to pull the gun away and all this, and then the guy just pulls the trigger, done. And then you see the bit where he's like stumbling and
then he just drops on
things escalate. But
that's what I'm trying to say to you. When it's your Second Amendment right to bear arms,
that's what I'm saying. Like
fundamentally, the country's confused.
Because when you take that ignorance and racism of some American people, right? And it is the vocal minority, right? But then you combine it with the Second Amendment. It's like the most like toxic cocktail you could probably make in terms of like just unnecessary.
Going back to what Gab said, I don't think that. So police officers, you're right, Gab. They should be going into the job role of to protect and serve. I think that's what they say in America. That's what it is. But I don't think that what they're protecting is not the same thing as what maybe other officers in the USA are trying to protect. They're trying to protect the state, or they're trying to protect their American values. And what their American values is not a 25-year-old black man jogging by their house so comfortably. That's not what they're trying to protect. They're trying to protect their town for, in their mind, they're good white Aryan citizens that live there. So they thought that they were doing a justice in the sense of running him down and shooting him. But we're going to move on. So we've seen why it takes so long. So I think what actually made it kick off is that there were like a load of tweets around this and caught major media attention, which it shouldn't have to get brought forward. But I mean, that's just the way the world works at the moment, it seems. So can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, I can see the screen.
Oh, hang on. What's going on here? No, you can't. One sec.
Not anymore. Yeah, man. It's and what's annoying is that there's no clear solution to it, because at least in England you could make, if this ever happened, God forbid, or in 2020, you could probably push for a change that affects the whole police force, right? But in America, you've got 50 police forces.
No, more than that.
Oh yeah, actually, sorry, yeah, more than that. It's all counties, isn't it? It's county police.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so I've got some tweets that I pulled up, so I'll just read this one. So I see this post updated every so often, each time with a new name, a new hashtag, a new trauma. I see this post and I wonder how the new edition will be vilified and blamed for their own death. I see this post and I'm reminded that the world despises black people. Hashtag Ahmaud Arbery. So what she's talking about is this here. And I mean, you can read it. I'll just read a few. And it just says, black people are so tired. We can't go jogging. We can't relax in the comfort of our homes. And by each statement, it has the name of someone who's been affected by this or whose life has been wrongfully taken. We can't have our cell phones. We can't leave parties to get to safety. We can't play loud music. We can't sell CDs. We can't sleep. We can't walk from the corner store. We can't play cops and robbers. We can't go to church. We can't walk home with Skittles. So, what do you guys think about that? It's a bit shocking, isn't it?
Go back to it.
There we go.
So I'm reading it. I'm trying to remember if I can remember the ones they're talking about. Obviously, I remember. I think Trayvon Martin was the first one that I knew about. Like,
yeah, that was a big one.
That one's ridiculous as well. That one, that is very similar to this one as well, because that one was worse though, because I'm not sure. I haven't seen the media, but with Ahmaud, it's like what I've seen. No one's vilifying him. No one's like going into his personal life and saying it's not yet anyway. So touch wood, that doesn't happen, right? Everyone seems to be on the side that this is ridiculous. But the Trayvon Martin one, like it was almost a very similar situation, but then they started going into
The defensive, yeah.
but like the Trayvon Martin was a thug and
Yeah,
like
yeah. That's
he
right.
was like he was like a bad kid, he was a naughty kid at school.
Justification.
And I was like, even if like the worst case scenario happened where them two got into a fight, like there's still no reason why this guy should pull out a gun and shoot Trayvon Martin. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
why did he end up dead? But that's I think that's justification in America. And I think there was a statistic that said the majority of white Americans do not believe that there is a racial problem in America.
It's to negate white guilt.
Yeah,
that's why it's called the white man's burden. So since the history, right? If you look at it, they brought African Americans at the time, just Africans, to the southern states of America and the Caribbean, etc. Since then, they've seen it as they civilized us, and they've got a lot of work to do. And then even still, there's still a gap, and they don't even see people as humans. It was actually 155 years ago that slavery was abolished, and people forget this.
Yeah,
we're not equal in America. So when you're slaying these people, these black people, it's not the same as killing a white person. That's essentially what it is, because they're not equal at all. 155 years, and we're trying to inflict change of something that lasted 400 years. It's hard.
Yeah. And it's still going on today.
Louis C.K. said it best. It was like slavery only ended 2 grandmas ago. Like it's like your grandma's grandma, and there was still slavery. That's like kind of mad. We're actually so close to it in a way.
And we still feel the ripples of that today. Yeah. Clearly from this. They don't in the last decade. This what I'm reading here.
But you know what? From this list, another side one is the Tamir Rice one. That one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, what was that one again?
Which one, sir?
The child that was playing with the toy gun, and the police car just come out of nowhere, and they just killed him straight away. They just shoot at him. And that one, like you could see that it was a boy. Like that's the thing that, that's the one that really hurt me.
You have to think about that, right? So, some young person shot with a toy gun. You have to think symbolically in America. What are black people painted as? What is a symbol of a black person in America? Dangerous.
A thug.
Bug, a thief, dangerous, someone who can't be trusted, someone who will hurt white people effectively. So when they see that, to pull out your gun and shoot someone when they haven't opened fire on you or anything like that, I mean, you must have some pretty strong views of that. And where do those views come from? Are they sort of in the education system growing up? Is it in your environment? Is it in
Lamar?
The Second Amendment, man.
Question. Again, just the same point in the Second Amendment. If you saw a white man carrying an assault rifle, dressed up in camo gear, or you saw a black man wearing shorts and a vest, where maybe carrying a 9mm pistol, for example, who's more dangerous in the eyes of yourself?
In the eyes of me, a black man, I would fear the white man. But in the eyes of society, the white man is there to protect. We're told that that's a symbol of peace,
or is hunting, or something justifiable.
Yeah, you would in your head you would self-justify it. So you'd be like, no, he can't be. Even if I saw a black man in militant gear, right?
I would still shoot myself.
You might start to do the opposite. Say, what's he doing?
But then both, if they're not felons and over the age of 18, have the right to bear arms. But then they have different perceptions of what they look like and appearance and maybe where they are. And again, personal experiences. But the issue is, why are they there in the first place? The guns I'm talking about. For example, a lot of police shoot first, ask questions later, or they draw the gun. In the UK, when there's an altercation with the police, there's ways for them to get it wrong, but then not have catastrophic effects. For example, tasering someone, maybe hitting someone with a truncheon. But in the States, I feel sorry for the police to an extent, because I don't know what you have, so I'd rather deal with you before I get dealt with. But at the same time, that doesn't justify what they do 9 times out of 10 to one race in particular, or even Hispanics, for example, as well. So
they definitely got a massive power problem. Did you ever see that video where, speaking of toy guns, there was this kid that wasn't a kid, he was about 19 or something, but I think he was in a hotel room and he was shooting stuff with a BB gun outside a window.
Or it was in South London. In South London?
No, this was in America, right?
Okay.
It was a cap gun. and then someone reported him, and they got a SWAT team up to this hotel room,
Mhm.
and the boy started shitting himself, and he comes out the room, and he's got his hands up, and he's like shaking and stuff because he's just playing around, like he didn't even mean to, like he wasn't even trying to he was just playing with his gun, his toy gun, and then the guy's like, put your hands up and or something like that, and then get down on the ground. And you can tell the police officer is waiting for the boy to twitch, like even like he's about to twitch a bit.
Something. Yeah.
Exactly. And then literally he twitches, and then the man just lays about like 10 rounds into him, and he's dead.
See?
It's like
Okay. Different
it's
approach.
like
Same situation.
like,
Right, yeah, but I hear what you guys.
obviously I don't want to, it's probably not relevant because that one was a white guy, right? But that is probably the word, like that. You can tell, like, if that one is getting publicized, how many times has that happened to black people?
That's. I'm glad you said that, Ant, because I mean, yeah, obviously, the right to bear arms is. I mean, we don't agree with sort of bearing guns in this country. We think that gun crime, like you should just not carry a gun at all, right? And you're not going to get people that get shot if you don't have guns. That's the thing. But can we blame police brutality on black people to the fact that they have a gun? Because how come they're not shooting as many white people as they are black people? It's not just the gun; it's the person behind the gun. There's the tool, because white people aren't getting shot like this.
It's true. It's true. I agree.
You can't just blame the white, because
That's the thing.
But when you think about in London, the
safe.
The Mark Duggan situation, like how big of a deal that was, right?
Yeah.
If that happened in America, that would have just been like another day.
Normal story. The Mark Duggan.
They did the same thing. They tried to justify it, so they went into his history. They said that he was a thug. They said that he was in a gang.
Yeah.
And what pictures did they pull up of him on national and international pictures? His picture like this. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure there was hundreds of pictures of Mark Duggan without that connotation.
Oh no, there's that one where he's like, he's at his daughter's grave, but they cut out the grave, so it's just
like it's sitting down. Very clever people. But again, and to go back to your point about the guns in the UK, there's a video actually that surfaced recently, and it happened within quarantine. This geezer was in Bromley, and he was in like a penthouse apartment. This black guy, I think he's a rapper or like a manager. He has a record label, and he was basically shooting blank rounds off the building. And it's like, if that was America and the armed response came to that building, he would have been dead. But in the UK, the different approach in policing. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying anything. They've made a fair few fuck ups and racial profiling and things that they can't come back from, and they got a lot of blood on their hands. I do agree. However, like, the way that they handled that situation, it was ask questions first, diffuse the situation, neutralize the threat, but not exterminate the threat. You get it? Like, man said, they could have laid into him shells in his body because they went to his flat and they saw several machine guns, but they turned out they were replicas and they were props. Do you get it? It's like,
what an idiot! What producer was that? I didn't see that.
I'll find you the video.
Right, guys, I'll move on to the next one. So it's next tweet. America can't have true racial reconciliation until it has racial reckoning, a full accounting of its past wrongs. So, hang on. There was another bit to this. Oh.
You had it for a second. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I'll get that bit up after. Basically, what this tweet is trying to say is that you can't begin to solve a problem until you realize that the problem is there. And I said earlier that there was a statistic that most white Americans don't believe that there's a racial problem. Do you think Americans feel that that they even have a problem to begin with?
Okay. Of course you do, like, because.
Who wants to speak?
I'd like to go. I'd like to go. Basically, I feel like from their perspective, being a white American, you won't experience racism. So, who are they to say it exists or not exists? Because at the end of the day, they're not the one that's getting prejudiced against them, and they're not the ones that probably are that you don't realize something that is a problem when you're benefiting from the problem. That's what I'm trying to say.
But to me, like, how can you not even just acknowledge that they're like? I'm one of those people that in our lifetime, like, racism will always be exist in some form, whether it's white on black or black on white or Asian on black, or whatever, right? But like, that's why it's such a weird question. Like, why Americans just see that there's always going to be a problem, even if it was like one person that's racist. So they'd say, so in the mind that, what was the actual question? Are they saying there's no racism at all?
No. What he's saying is that they need to take
No, but
accountability.
in the question that the poll that you mentioned, like where white Americans don't believe that there's a.
Oh, they don't believe that race is a problem in America.
Okay, so maybe they acknowledge that it exists, but it's not a problem
Yeah, it's not like
because they benefit from it. Do you know what I mean? So it's
probably because
But,
this. Go on.
So they're saying there is maybe they
I just don't know how you could answer that. Like,
acknowledge that there are racist people in America, but they don't see it as a problem that's sort of disadvantageous for Black people in America.
yeah. Two things, yeah. So
Okay.
addressing the poll. So as you know, in America, 10% of the population is Black. And I feel like 60% of the population is white. What people understand is with America is so huge, yeah. I can believe that poll because there's certain communities that there's no Black people in it. It's just like white. And so they don't get the struggles of Black people. And the struggles they see of Black people, fictional Black people, is what they see on TV. So for them, they might think there's no racial fact because there's not much Black people in their community, so they don't see it as an issue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Whereas
the thing is,
and any Black people in that thriving community, for example, might be very affluent themselves as well. So it's like the only reality of Black people they have is probably, oh, well, you got the same job as me. You're my neighbor. Do you mean if you could afford to live here, this is not a problem because I live here. Do you get it? Like,
I get that, but like to me, I don't know. I don't think that's an excuse for them not to realize that. Like, how do we even know about certain areas in America where, say, somewhere like Baltimore, Detroit, where there's like just it's not just Black people, to be fair, but there's unequal like disparity of wealth amongst ethnic minorities, right? Where like the Black people obviously live in the poorest conditions in Baltimore, and then you've got the rich areas in Baltimore, right? How do we know about that? And I know you were saying that these people live in all white areas, which is whatever, but how can they not even know that that stuff exists in America? That's what I understand.
because I don't think they're interested to know.
they don't care.
And also you have to understand, America, for some reason, their education system is not good as the United Kingdom's.
Do you know what's mad? I
Because
found that. Do you know they don't? I learned this the other day. Americans don't do geography in.
Exactly.
You know.
So when they got the, I saw that from that video, and I was thinking to myself, like, how do I know more about your states and stuff, and the country surrounding you, and we live on the other side of the world? You know what I'm saying? So when knowledge like that is not being taught, etc., I can believe they don't have a knowledge of what's going on in their own country because they don't know the simple geography, like where South America is, where Canada is and stuff. And just quickly on this tweet as well, if we all done history and we did history about apartheid, if you guys remember when Nelson Mandela got into power, he did this thing about this reconciliation where there was like it was a kind of a thing where it was like a forgiveness thing where people came up with their stories and they said, I'm sorry. Like there was Black families, they didn't know what happened to their loved ones. And then the white people came to the reconciliation and they did say, I'm sorry, I did this, I did that. And it was a process for them to heal, not to forget, but also for them to try and move forward as a country, as a new nation. They had to do that reconciliation for them to move forward as a country. Even though South Africa has this issue, now it definitely helped because if that reconciliation didn't help, it could have been like a situation with what happened in Zimbabwe. I don't know if you guys saw what happened with Rhodesia, and stuff like that. Yeah.
And so I agree with you, Gabs, because I meant to mention that people forget about. Okay, slavery got abolished, but was anyone ever free? No. So, in the chronology of American history, so slavery was abolished 155 years ago. Then you had Jim Crow laws and segregation laws in America, which actually only finished in. Give me 1 second. I got it on my tab. You have Jim Crow laws that actually was established in the 1870s, and they ended in the 1965.
Yeah,
so what's that? Someone do the quick maths for me. What's that? Is that 55 years ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
That Americans, white Americans acknowledged Black Americans And then you had the Civil Rights Act in 1967, which then made them, and the right to vote, sorry. They even had the right to vote from 1967. So the country is backwards, is young, it is very hard to understand that America is the leader of the free world, but half the population isn't free, and they don't think freely either.
No,
And
I think that's another thing, Mons, actually, because I think a lot of people probably ask, "Oh, why are we talking about this as British guys in the UK? This racial problem doesn't affect our racial problem." Turn on your TV, go through your channels. How many of those shows on there are American shows? We all grew up watching American TV. We all read
it's
American.
a big influencer of culture.
A massive influencer of culture and understanding and who we are. That, like you said, leaders of the free world. So we can't ignore this. This is a problem that affects all of us.
Bro, I'm pretty sure most
Trump's
people
not just
in the
their
UK,
president. He's our president too. I'm sorry to say.
I'm pretty sure more people in the UK could name more American states than UK counties.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, man.
Probably.
So it's like, really and truly, the way that American have a grip on the world, we are accountable, and we're all accountable as a human race, because we see our kin, no matter how far geographic they are away from us, we look the same. If we went to America, what would happen to us? If we immigrated to America? And again, the black people in America that are there weren't there by choice. Let's not forget that. Now they're in situations.
Madness, isn't it?
Yeah. Now they're in situations that they can't escape, and there is that by force again. So in the areas where they call it the ghettos, and then the projects again. It was a project where they put people in these massive buildings, and they said, "Let's see what happens."
Imagine bringing a race of people over to your country in shackles on boats, and then having a campaign like "Make America Great Again." Imagine that. Right, I'll move on to the next.
Home.
So it says, remember that. Always remember, they didn't make arrests because they saw the tape. They made arrests because we saw the tape. So this is about the arrest of for the murder in question. What do you guys think about this? This is more of a sort of a conspiratorial theory.
It's not a conspiracy, man. It's the police are known, like I said before, the police are known for being like just completely backwards and just covering their backs all the time, because
thing is, we have to call it a conspiracy because it's not known fact.
True.
I mean, there's cases of it.
Yeah,
we actually don't know. It's still a speculation.
They're just all about their numbers, man. If you read any news stories or watch any documentaries, or even like watch The Wire, I'm not sure if you've seen that, but they're just talking about numbers. Like they're like, "Oh, we need to get our numbers down." I'm like, but so they're talking about homicides, and they're like, "Yeah, we need to get our numbers down." But like, do you not just want to solve the murders? Like, they're just, like, it's ridiculous. The most embarrassing one is that they actually have quotas for this number of arrests, that number of arrests.
Yeah, like driving instructors or something.
And that's why you exactly, and that's why you saw like a disproportionate number of black people in jail, right? Because you see it in The Wire. That's why The Wire is such a great show. Is that sometimes they literally just roll up to a neighborhood and just take people in, and then just put the charge on them after they take them in. It's like unbelievable, right? So this is what I'm talking about. There's so many layers to it. Like, how can everyone's like, you could solve the police being aggressive. That could be one problem, right? But that's not going to stop them being obsessed with numbers, because they're always going to try and achieve the numbers. But if you solve that, then you've still got the racism angle. If you solve the racism angle, you're still going to have the Second Amendment problem. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I said before, it's not like it's the police that we can't just do a universal change in the police in America. Unlike
the whole narrative, you're right. It's the whole narrative. Look at it holistically. One as into the other one as into the other one. But I will say this on record, that if you do read the news, then you are often misinformed. But if you don't read the news, then you're uninformed. So what do? You have to really look at it from the source yourself, do your own research, because
100%.
You can be manipulated so much in the statistics, in the numbers, in the images, like Mark Duggan. If you didn't know him, you think as a thug. Yeah. But if you might know him, you might see him as a different side. Do you know what I mean? And then was the police justified for that? Because they said he had a gun and there was no gun ever found. This is bullshit. Is it the IPCC? They in the UK that actually go and handle police complaints, like from especially with the murder ones as well. And I'm pretty sure there's in the States they have the equivalent, but they must have their work cut out because it's so big, and some, like you said, is hidden under the carpet.
Yeah.
They said there was this she was a psychologist, theologist, and she said that if you're born an American, you're actually born into a racist society, and you then yourself become a racist. You can't avoid it. And she took a picture out of the standard atlas that you have in every school across America, and it says in the corner, it says not drawn to scale, right? But the continents with ethnic minorities in America, have been massively scaled down. So the sizes of like Africa, the continent, is a lot smaller. Now, she said that the connotations behind that symbolism, if you look at Africa and you're a child in school, subliminally, you just think Africa is small. There's not much there, not much land mass. It's not as big. And what you're doing is you're symbolically telling people that we are, the Western world,
greater.
Yeah, exactly. Is greater than those continents.
Every narrative of Africa, be honest, apart from recent history, what's the narrative of Africa? Dry, famine,
depleted,
corrupt,
disease,
starvation.
Louis Farrakhan, who is he was the leader, one of the leaders of the Nation of Islam in America. He had an interview back in like the 70s, and he actually spoke with this guy and said, the presenter said, "What's the most corrupt nation on earth?" Because I believe it's Nigeria. And at the time, Nigeria is only about 30 years old. So Louis Farrakhan replied and said, "Nigeria, sorry, I'm offended. You think that's the most corrupt nation on earth? Yes, every country has its problems, but we are living in the most corrupt country in the world," referring to America, right? He said, "How could you think a country at 30 years old has got more blood in its hands than what America has?" Every problem in the world, that is not, wait, hold on, let me correct myself. America has the highest defense budget in the world, right? They spend trillions. They spend more than what the rest of the world have on defense alone, in a country that's never been invaded, apart from by white people, by the way, because the Native Americans are there first, and the Mexicans, so let's agree with that one. So in a country that's never been invaded before, they got the highest defense budget in the world, right? Then they go everywhere else and plant their seed because of the Truman Doctrine. And that was something that enabled them to have justification to get involved in any altercation in the world that received political threat, basically. And they're allowed to do what they want. So it's kind of like, what do you expect? The whole regime's corrupt. It's going to filter down. And when you establish dominance, anything that threats that dominance needs to be exterminated. And that's what they want to do. Why change something when it's working?
Yeah. I also want to bring up, so with Black people in America and their notion of the police, and I'm sorry to bring up this person, but I'm bringing up 6ix9ine. Okay, so we all know who 6ix9ine is, and we all know what he did in terms of rapping, etc. He went to prison and he's come out, and the big controversy is about snitching, right? I don't know if you noticed with the snitching, the people that have the issues with the snitching are predominantly Black people, right? I don't know if you noticed, and the snitching of telling the police, etc. And I've been looking at it and I'm thinking, where has this deep rootedness of snitching or talking to or informing the police has gone completely wrong with Black people, etc. And if you look at the history, is that Black people have been time and time been let down by the police when they have snitched or been a good civilian to the police. So when they tell on another Black civilian or another Black committed a crime, instead of getting that protection, what used to happen was police would actually show they'll go to the Black civilian's house to actually show that they're snitching or they're informing and not protect them, etc. And it's gone to that issue now. That, you know what? Why am I being a good citizen and telling the police this person's doing that? I should just mind my own business. Let me not snitch. And I just thinking to myself, like, it's snitching. My thing is this: as a civilian, if someone's done something wrong and it's bad, they're killing people, putting hits out, You need to come for in a perfect society. We should be telling the police this is happening, and the police should be sorting it out. But because of what's going on in that country, America, and the corruptness of what they've done to black people thinking, you know what, yeah, this is wrong, but you know what, I'm not getting involved. I'm not going to get myself in trouble and jeopardize my family when I've known there's a history of people who have informed the police, tried to be a good citizen, and it's backfired on them when it was none of their business. I just
There's
think
more to that as well, I think, Gabs, in the sense that the communities as well, where you predominantly might have that that kinship, that brotherhood, the camaraderie, whatever you want to call it, they stick together in those neighborhoods. If there's a problem in the neighborhood, we sort it out together, kind of thing as well. Especially in your strength in numbers, kind of thing. You wouldn't even go to the police because they're external, and quite a few times, like you said, they've been threats to the community. They're not helpful.
That's what I'm saying.
We can't. Sorry, so we can't actually allow ourselves to build a community in America because we try to mimic what the Jewish people do.
Yep.
So Jewish are a race that have been discriminated against just as much as we have, right?
At the beginning of time.
Yeah. And there was. Did you guys know that there was a Black Wall Street?
Yeah.
They burn it down.
Mm-hmm.
Burn down Black Wall Street. They don't want us to effectively achieve, and it's horrible to see. How can you start to build a community, and how can you start to inflict change on others when we can't grow as people ourselves? So
true. And then we can relate to this country as well, where we live, because it was in my grandparents' generation, which is not long ago, when it first came after the rebuild of the country after 1945. The Britain was in a dire way, and they asked the Connollys and the Empire to come together and rebuild Britain. The African immigrants replied, Caribbean immigrants replied, and later on so did the Indian influx, right, in the 60s. We could look at this, well, the Asian subcontinent, should I say. We weren't allowed to do certain things when we first joined. We weren't taught about finances and X, Y, and Z. And then the Indian community was very smart, and they stuck together a lot more. They go to Indian-owned shops, for example, or the Polish. When you've seen the Polish people, the Eastern European people have been in the UK long, shorter than the blacks, for example, but they go to Polish-owned shops or Romanian-owned shops. We don't have that stuff. We don't support each other. And that again. We'd rather go Tesco. We'd rather go Tesco than go to someone's allotment, for example. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's not.
Montel, you know what you're diving into? What you're saying is very interesting, but because I have these talks with my family, yeah. But the thing is, though, the difference in that is I've had these talks with my dad, and my dad said, "What is black culture?" Because if you think about it, if you think as a whole, as the continent of Africa and the Caribbean, black were different. There's so many different like black people. Like there's no. So for instance, for you said the Jewish people, they can work as a whole, yeah, because they have this. They're all combined by this one tradition, yeah. There's that Jewish tradition. The East Europeans, they're all got combined by that tradition of Eastern Europeans. But Africa is so big, and the Caribbean is so big. There's so many traditions here. There can't just be one umbrella like that where we can all move as one people, because, like, for instance, people in West Africa are completely different from North, East, South, and the Caribbean. So I understand that we need that camaraderie we have to stick together, but what is that black culture? You know what I'm saying? Because
agreed, because North Africans, yeah.
I can talk about the Spanish culture, I can talk about the Eastern African culture, but what is black culture?
All right, fair enough, but these cultures in themselves are quite big. What one culture is thriving?
True.
Oh no, but I could say.
You could say Jewish. I mean, my example is Jewish, but they're Jewish Americans.
Originally, there was black Jews, so
exactly, yeah.
So
yeah, they're a specific type.
That's another conversation.
They're a specific type of Jewish people. But this is
Watch your podcast get locked off now.
I know, yeah, like
this is yeah, but this just to redirect this. So this actually brought onto this is America racist, and I think from what we're talking about, I think we've identified that there is a racial problem there. So I'm just gonna. These are some facts. So the first fact is in New York City, 88% of police stops in 2018 involved Black and Latina people, while 10% involved white people. Of those stops, 70% were completely innocent. Now, maybe this has something to do with the quota that Ant was talking about, but we have to ask ourselves, why were 88% of those people Black?
Because of the areas that are high crime are the disadvantaged areas, and the disadvantaged areas are statistically filled with ethnic minorities. I'm afraid to say.
That's a great point, Ant, and it goes on to my next bit. So this is, I guess, this mimics the state of, I guess this mimics sort of New York City as well. But in the state of Wisconsin, the mortgage rejection rate is the same for a black family with a combined income of 125K as it is for a white family of 25K. So mortgage. So what happened is a decade ago, a couple decades back, mortgage lenders in Wisconsin would actually. So there's two areas. So there's a more affluent area where the houses, some of the highest retail valued houses in the USA, with like these beautiful gardens, massive, like, 5 bedrooms, whatever. They would sell those to the whites, and mortgage lenders would actually steer black people towards sort of the lower end of Wisconsin, because they were bigger credit risks in their eyes.
So there's another story off the back of that, where someone created an AI in America, and it turned out the AI was being racist as well, because it was disproportionately. It was something like this about credit rates, right, where they were not offering the same rates to black people as opposed to white people, because it was a credit risk. It's weird.
So it's, I mean, so we if we go back to the first point, we're saying that 88% of black people were stopped by the police. 88% of the people that stopped were black in 2018, and that's because the areas that they lived in were the high crime rate areas. But why are they in those areas in the first place? And then it comes down to things like this.
Exactly.
This fries. You know what I'm trying to say? Someone say it for me.
Disenfranchised.
That's basically what it is. No, for real, because what they do as well, when there's not enough space, then they gentrify instead, and that's a general. So it's like they disenfranchise someone or a community, and to keep them in their place. Do you understand? Like you can be successful as you want, but you're still black. Do you understand? And again, and I don't know about you, but I know for certain Lamar and Gabs have had this. We've been told from the beginning, we were young, that we got to work harder than our counterparts. But we do something the same, we got to do it 10 times harder. And then when I look at like acknowledgements in like the media, for example, sports stars or celebrities and stuff, why my point is my mind's gone blank, but what I'm trying to say is that when a black person does something and then when a white person does it, they're not the same. That makes sense. It's like,
yeah, I mean, I said this before on one of the podcast episodes. I was in my chemistry class in university. I was one of few black people that year that got into that course. And when I walked into the lab for the first time, the science professor who was leading that lab experiment that week, he was like, "Oh, yeah," shaking all the hands of the people. And then when he came to me, he's like, "Oh, well done." It's a significantly different approach to everyone else. Now, he might not have even have noticed that he did that. But why are you extra happy for me making it onto the course? And there's a lot of cases where you can read into something and be like, well, that wasn't racist. Sometimes.
No, I feel like that's the kind of the product that we're seeing now of racism, where white people just are being ignorant where they're thinking they're being helpful. So that that situation, like where it was, I don't think that is racist, but it's almost like just as ignorant, because he's trying to be nice because he's thinking, oh, he's black, he's must be the only black guy in this whole course, let me give him some extra love. But that's technically the definition of racism, because he's treating you differently based on your race, right? But it's for a different perspective, if that makes sense.
Basically, there was no malice in what he was trying to do.
No.
But what he did was just as discriminatory as maybe a racial act would have been. Yeah.
But then that's the thing. Knowing in the black community as well, though, we do acknowledge each other. We're guilty of it ourselves. Like if we're the only two black people in the room, we'll be like, that black nod. That nod, you know? And it's like, I could be in the middle of nowhere. If I see another black person, we're automatically going to get on just because of
But Montel, that's not a bad thing though, because I think as a human being, we're naturally like to see something that represents us.
It's not a bad thing if it's by choice. It's a bad thing if you're pushed in that direction.
Yeah.
So if you're forced to be around black people, because in America, obviously, you have like every high school movie you see, right? You see, you got the cool kids, but really you got the black kids, the white kids in the jails and everything like that. If you're forced into a system, that's when it stops being a choice, and that's when it starts to be toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Right, so I'll move on to the next one.
Sorry to cut you. My friend said she's really enjoyed this episode today. So her name's Rachel. So thanks, Rachel.
Shout out, Rachel. Shout out, Rachel.
I just saw we got a new subscriber. Actually, I think that's her. So thank you. We appreciate that. So this one, 64% of Americans believe there is no race problem. Oh no, sorry, there is a race problem. Sorry, they believe there is one.
What percent was that? What percent was that?
64% of Americans.
They must be talking about like the 100 meters and 200 meters. There's no way they're talking about this pigmentation. Because how can it be that high? 36% of people don't think there's a problem.
Yeah, I need to check my source on this one, but it
does.
No.
I'm not questioning your source. I just can't believe that's a ridiculous.
It does seem high though, doesn't it? That's why I put it on here, because it shocked me.
That's the thing. Don't forget, people asked as well. So it's like what they could have asked 10 people or 20 people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been
some weird sample size. But no, honestly, Lamar, there is an issue, and I feel like that percentage that said there isn't. It's like, well, where you been living? Do you mean you must really live in redneck America?
But sorry to stop you, but if you talk about how talk about the education system again in the UK, which I love the United Kingdom. If you think about how history has been taught to us and history has been taught in America, is completely different, because
me and
Anne did history together in A levels, etc. But we touched upon a number of stuff, and we've done proper research on slavery and stuff, and about like topics of Black America, etc. But history,
not British slavery. No British slavery in our history there.
Yeah, which is another time. We'll come to that. Yeah, but for America, I think Americans are embarrassed I still think America are embarrassed of some of their history. Like, for instance, some Americans
on
don't.
Both sides.
So again,
on both sides are embarrassed. If you're black, slavery is embarrassing.
Yeah.
And a lot of black people get offended when I say this, right? But
that's kind of wild.
But of course it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
What's not to be embarrassing about our race being stripped of sort of all our worth, treated like we weren't human.
I think the saddest thing is that
that's embarrassing. If you hear about that, if you hear about, do you remember 200 years ago when that happened to you? That's not something that
no, man,
I wouldn't acknowledge.
And when you think about it, like, I know it's kind of right on the nose, but like almost every black person or African American in America has a white surname, and why is that? Is because it's derived from slavery.
Plantations. It's the plantation owners, and again, that's 400 years of slavery, which is then diluted the blood, which you could argue might have happened anyway, but it diluted the blood. It's changed our history. It's taught us a different Bible as well. To me, it's like it was so systematic, and the ripple effect of it now.
It was a very efficient operation.
Exactly, and then again, like Ant mentioned, it wasn't just the Americans; it was the British, the Dutch, the French, the Spanish. We could go into it, but I'm saying, like, for me, it was a problem at the time, which we couldn't just say, yeah, you're free now, it's abolished, get on with it now, we're equal. No, because what happened after that was that a lot of the free slaves then went to work on plantations for next to nothing anyway. So they might as well have been slaves, because they still worked on them afterwards for literally nothing. And then again, like I said, after slavery was abolished, you had the Jim Crow laws from 1870 till 1965. So 100 years or 95 years, they were segregated. So it's like, cool, you're free, but you're not like us.
That's what's ridiculous, when like people are like, oh, slavery was like 200 years ago, man, get over it. I'm saying, but yes, there will be a point where people won't bring up slavery, but the Jim Crow laws is like, that's our parents' lifetime. Like, are you mad? Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
To the point where black people got lynched on the Timberland tree. I remember when I was younger, my mum said, "You're not buying Timberlands because that's the type of tree that they used to hang people on." So it's like,
do you own a pair of Timberland?
I not now. I've had them when I was a bit younger because I patterned up. I said to her, listen. If I get them myself, I'm wearing them.
Right, so I've dropped a little statistic here. We'll just I'll just say it and we'll move on quickly. But yeah, this is just this just paints a picture, doesn't it? Treated unfairly in a store or restaurant based on your race. And you could just see the statistics there. You can see the percentages. White people, 7% of them felt like they were treated unfairly, but then much higher in blacks and Hispanics.
Do you know what I don't like? Another kind of, it's not necessarily to black people, but a racist aspect of America is that always with these stats, right? They always omit Asian people. Like it's like they don't exist there. They always omit Asian people.
In the UK, we have BAME, so black and ethnic minority.
Yeah.
Or minority ethnic.
But even if we broke up lists, you'd always have an Asian sector. It'd be black and Asian.
Yeah, of course. Right.
Okay.
So sorry
to cut you, bro. Do you think that percentage of people, that was the 36%? Do you think they don't think it's a race problem because they had a black president? Oh, there can't be one because the president's black, for example.
Right. Hold that thought.
Yeah, of course.
Hold that thought there. I'm glad you said that. So this is sort of the centerpiece of the whole conversation. This is what we're going to talk about because we've talked about sort of what's happened in the past. We talked about the president of America, and I want to talk about the future. I want to talk about sort of where America's headed and how racism is going to get sorted out. But they have a major problem, and it starts at the top. That's an expression that people often use. You can't establish change until you sort of hit the top head. So at the top of America is this man, Mr. Trump. And that's why I cut you off because you were going into presidency once, and we can talk about that now.
Mm-hmm.
And here's some quotes that Trump said. I feel like America's racial situation is massively affected by the fact that they've appointed a leader that he's supposed to be representative of the nation that he leads. And they follow a man that would say things like this. So in 1991, this is in a book, Trump said, "Black guys counting my money, I hate it. The only kind of people I want counting my money are short guys that wear yarmulkes every day. I think the guy is lazy. And it's probably not his fault because laziness is a trait in blacks. It really is. I believe that. It's nothing they can control."
Where's that from? I've never seen that. Right?
So this is I'll at the end of this I'll actually pull up the book that's written in.
You know why I have so much issues with that quote, man, and him. This stigma that black people are lazy is then you guys got a race of people. You then in history got the race that are lazy, the laziest people from one continent to another to do all the plantation and everything in hot, strict conditions, bruv. Like, and if they're lazy, why wouldn't you get your own race to do it? Like, why would you get the laziest race of people to do those hard manual labor? Like, it's crazy to me, and I just never understood that. You have, like, for instance, if you go to, like, one day, hopefully I can bring you guys to Ghana. If you go to Ghana, you go to the villages and the rainforests, like, predominantly they're farmers, and they're working in 35-degree weather every single day, and they'll do that for 10 hours a day. Like, they're the most hard working I know. So
hold on.
That's not lazy. Like, that's not.
Gab,
Okay,
do you know where? Sorry, guys. Do you know where the expression "sugar daddy" actually came from? It comes from so sugar daddy was sort of the name that they would use for. So they had the cotton kings and the sugar daddies who led the plantations in the US.
Sugarcane.
Yeah, the sugarcane plantations. What they would do. So that's the root of that word. People don't know that. People often use it. A lot of nursery rhymes actually even. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. That was an old racist nursery rhyme that they used to use. So all of these things, man.
So one narrative of the black people was that the traits are lazy, yet all the top athletes in the world are, in my opinion, are black. Secondly, the narrative that we're lazy can kind of be contradicted again because the other narrative is that we are poor and we walk 5 miles to go to school and get water. So I'm confused. If I was lazy, I'd be like, listen, today I'm gonna starve now. I'm not thirsty. Do you know what I mean? Or today I'm gonna miss out my education because I'm in bed on my straw bed. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So are we lazy or are we poor and can't do these things that you're saying that we're doing? I'm really confused. Is it we're lazy because we didn't conquer the rest of the world like the white counterparts did? Is that what lazy is? I don't understand.
The month's hatred doesn't bear sense. It doesn't need to.
But that lazy trait, I don't know. It did when you read it, it triggered me. I think
it triggered me as well, man.
It's lazy. Like,
it's a case of othering, right? So when you can't have them as slaves and you put them under Jim Crow rules, Jim Crow laws, when you can't have Jim Crow laws, then you start to make up lies about them. Just so like that's the sickness, right? Because of the other, you're trying to make when you see yourself as different to someone else, you try to make your people superior. So you just make up stuff about them, right?
That you can pass a law, it doesn't mean that everyone wants to abide by that law.
True. No. How many white people as well are living in between, but below the poverty line in America as well? It's like, are they lazy as well, or are they just unlucky? Are they the unlucky ones?
The tiki torch whites is what they call them, right? So this is when he was a candidate. So in 2015, Trump called for a ban on all Muslims coming into the US. We all know about this. His administration eventually implemented a significantly watered down version of his policy. So if it was up to Trump, I don't know what kind of wild shit we would have seen in his sort of manifesto, but his own administration had to water down his policies. But yeah, we all know about the sort of the prejudice towards Muslims that Trump has, and pretty much every other race that isn't white.
ISIS.
Oh, sorry, go on.
He's always talking about ISIS, isn't it?
Yep. Next one. This one is particularly interesting. In 2016, he tweeted and later deleted an image that showed Hillary Clinton in front of a pile of money and by a Jewish Star of David that said, "Most corrupt candidate ever." The tweet had some very obvious anti-Semitic imagery, but Trump insisted that the star was a sheriff's badge and said that his campaign shouldn't have deleted it. A sheriff's badge.
Yeah, just on make a quick point. In 2016, when your two candidates are Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton in the 90s said that basically said that blacks are lazy as well. So she basically said that I forget what the exact quote was, but she's actually on record. The other quote, I want to check the validity of that, but the Hillary Clinton actually said that everyone that coming out of Detroit is just a bunch of thugs, basically. That was, for lack of a better term, that's what she was saying. So when you're coming into 2016 and those are your two candidates, you'll know your country is broken, right? Those are the two best people.
Damned if you do, damned if you didn't. And again, America went from one extreme with Barack Obama to another extreme with Donald Trump. Don't forget, there's no one in between them two, you know. The black then racist. Like, the country is so bad. Well, they're both racist.
Man. I think the country was angry, bro. I think they were angry. They were like, man, 2 terms. This guy.
8 years. Yeah.
It's an overcorrection. It's like I don't know, when you go out with a specific type of person and then your next girlfriend is the complete antithesis of that person. It's because you want something different. You want the complete opposite. Yeah. And that's what America.
I think obviously
they wanted.
Every race,
it was a rebound.
So every racist obviously voted for Donald Trump, but I don't think it was just that we could go. That's probably another topic, but like this is where we could talk about the corruption of America as well, because again, racism is just part of what makes America this absolute monster in terms of history. Yeah.
I think this is the last one. So, yeah, there was these white supremacist protests in Virginia in 2017. Trump repeatedly said that many sides and both sides were to blame for the violence and chaos that ensued, suggesting that the white supremacist protesters were morally equivalent to the counter-protesters that stood against racism.
That was unbelievable. And he was like, "There's some good people out there, some good people, some great people."
So that's basically justified racism, isn't it? That's you saying
that's the thing. When
he is a moron. That's the thing.
When the First Amendment right is freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And then the second one is to have a gun. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can say what I want about you, and then I can get my gun. If you don't like what I say, you get it. I just said, you know what? I don't know. We've spoke about lads' holidays to go abroad and stuff, and I think a lot of the time you mentioned America. I've just got no desire. I'm sorry, I've got no desire.
Okay, Montel, someone that's Someone that's been to America, yeah. If you go to the main tourist attractions, because we're not trying to go to the deep south, like we're not trying to go to the Georgias or the
That's the thing.
or the Wells, bro.
True.
We're trying to go to
True.
maybe LA, California, San Diego, or Miami or New York, where it's much safer. We're not trying to go to them places because I don't know about you, but so in the UK, yeah, when we go to some cities in the UK or some towns, yeah, I don't know if you can like Lamar months you feel this way, but sometimes you feel a bit that uneasiness.
Yeah.
I've always said this uneasiness when we went to uni, where we went in Kent. Like there was sometimes I had that bit of uneasiness, but
Even in Kent,
I was never like scared. Like you get what I'm saying. I was never scared. Like oh shit, my life is under threat. You know what I'm saying? But there was always that uneasiness. But the equivalent in America is that you go to them deep south cities, them towns that you've never heard of, bruv. You've never heard of, yeah. And you go there and they got their own martial law, yeah. That you want to get there out of there straight away because that uneasiness can
Well,
end up
actually, yeah,
life.
Gabs. And one day we will discuss sort of the racial climate in the UK as well. But I was actually saying this to my mum the other day, and it was V-Day the other day, and I was seeing Union Jack flags everywhere. I don't know what it is. When I see the Union Jack flag, it doesn't make me feel at home. It actually makes me feel quite uneasy in the
I
UK.
was saying that, like, isn't it sad that, like, obviously out of context, when we look at the England flag, I just see like thugs and stuff, but like, that's a flag of our country, right? And we don't feel any.
it's been around since Crusades.
I know, yeah. It's that's another.
Well, the Union Jack one, Lamar, or the England one? Because I feel more uneasy when I see the England flag than the Union Jack.
Nah, the Union Jack one to me.
I get why Lamar said that, and I had a street party in Manchester on VE Day on last Friday, and the whole street, I kid you not one house was not had a Union Jack bunting all over it, right? They were playing old tunes, the national anthem got blared, and it was quite patriotic, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, what the Union Jack symbolizes for me is that empire. It is the dominance of the world. Like I said, Britain had about 2/3 of the world under its control at one point.
That's what I'm saying. Like, isn't that sad that like, we can't look at that? There's people that live in this country that can't look at the flag and be like uncomfortable. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But that's what you do. I was going to say to your point, Monto, about being funny about going to America, right? The sad reality is that we hear about these stories, right? Because most of these high-profile stories, like they are Ahmad, I forget his second name, but it's because he was just like living in a normal area, just going for a jog, right? The reality is, as a tourist, if you go to LA and you stay in a hotel, right, you're going to be so far removed from the rough areas where this is all happening. You're never going to like you're never going to be going to Compton or kind of these Inglewood or these really rough places, right, where it's all happening, where the police go and try and fill up their quotas, and it's got all the poverty and gang wars and stuff like that, right? You're going to be in the place where it's nice and that this like. I'm not being funny. Black people don't get shot on Hollywood Boulevard, right? That just doesn't happen.
No.
It's just or Beverly Hills. Have you like that just doesn't happen?
Yeah.
For me, it's not just about the fear.
All areas that you will never ever know. That's what they say about Chicago, right? Because you go to Chicago, and people say it's really lovely, but like when you think about like a 20-minute drive, or you're going to one of those deadly places.
South side, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to. You could be in the most deadly places in the whole of America. But like you could be like walking in the street and be really calm and everything. So
no, I agree. But for me, my desire doesn't stem from fear. It's not hatred either. It's just like there's just ugh. Like what? Do you know what I mean?
Well, morals, I know what you mean. Yeah,
that's an articulate view there. But that was.
It's like going. Sorry, mate. Though, like
go on, mate.
But it's like going to Mexico. When you get off the airport, you drive through Mexico, and you're going past some of those horrible places in terms of like threat to human life in the world, and then you pull up to the resort, and it's a very lovely resort, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like
in a bubble,
same situation.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like when I went to Cancun, like it was literally, when the day I got back, there was a madness in the north in Culiacan with El Chapo's son. It's kind of like I was like that. You felt scared, being like, "Whoa, there's nowhere near where I was." Do you know what I mean? I wasn't even. It's still a good 100 miles away, but it's kind of like you. I know what you're saying. You are far removed from it, and you're not gonna bump into it. I get it, but for me, it's just America. Like,
Yeah, no, I
just,
feel that. That's the
You
thing.
still
Though,
know
I
it
think
exists.
America is one of the like in terms of certain places in America are some of the best places on earth. Though, like let's not get twisted. Like in terms of there are places where you can just be, or you can just do whatever you want. Like you can just start your own. Like there's
Yeah,
little
of course.
pockets.
America is amazing. It's an amazing place.
Yeah.
The downside to that is that sometimes with a country with so much opportunity and so much things to do, so much resource, you're obviously going to have people who exploit that, and that's when you have the incredible racism that you experience out there. But that was our discussion on sort of the current racial climate in America. Thanks, guys. Thanks for that.
No, I appreciate it. Can I give a point though, quickly? Again, when I mentioned about the racial thing, like things are okay when white people do it, but black people have been doing it for years. For example, the Miley Cyrus twerk. I'm just sorry. It just vexes me. Then they had
Let's not get into that.
The Kim Kardashian bum. No, for me, it's that whole cultural appropriation which America's capitalized on. What black people have been doing it.
It's hella like,
you're going to another deep topic that we need to save this topic. You have to come again for that topic.
Yes.
But then there's the theories where like how certain parts of American culture it helps keep the cycle. Like again, if you watch The Wire, it kind of indicates that there's a cycle of like just being in a gang and people like buying flash cards but living in their horrible houses. Like you could go into another topic about that. It's like it's not just white people are racist to black people. It's like these systems are in place. Obviously, it all stems from that, but from that, all these other systems have been put in place where it doesn't necessarily just stem from a white person being racist to a black person. Does that make sense?
No, I agree.
Right. Thank you, guys.
No, thank you.
I think that was an important one. I think that was important for us to talk about. I hope that everyone listening found that interesting and insightful. And if you have any views, leave comments below. DM us at Zebra. I don't even know what we're called anymore. Is that Zebra Crossing LDN? Is that what it changes every 2 weeks? But yeah, so hit us up. But that was that topic, and I don't know who's on with the next one.
I'll go very quickly next because normally what we do is just talk about what's going on, but I'll be 10 minutes or so. I feel like we have to address what happened on Sunday. So
I'll be back in 1 sec.
How rude. So I'm sharing my.
And you're showing the YouTube.
There we go. So did we all watch Mr. Johnson's kind of address on Sunday?
Yeah, and you said what happened on Sunday. I was thinking, what even happened? That's how it's significant. But I was thinking, what happened on Sunday when you said
I'm not gonna lie to you, Mons. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, what happened Sunday? Like, and then when you put that up, I thought, oh, sugar. This is just the whole story for me, man.
Yeah, it's exactly because we like everyone can go, no, Sunday's going to be the day. Sunday's going to be something big's going to happen Sunday, right? And it was like the Pacquiao Mayweather fight where it was just a whole lot of nothing, right? But did you watch it live or did you watch it after?
I watched it live.
So what was your initial reaction? And I'll give mine.
I'll let the guests go first. What? You want to go first? Or...
There's a lot of I know that Boris Johnson had a lot of pressure from in his cabinet. During any time, there's cabinet politics, there's cabinet fractions and stuff like that. So I know that he had to appease the people that are worried about the economy and people that are worried about health. He had to do something. But at the same time, to go into it and say, go to work, but don't take public transport, for example, you're giving people so much autonomy of what to do. Take control of the situation, stay alert. I don't understand that. You're the government, and you're just like shifting the blame or shifting the guilt. That's what I got basically on that. Basically, just like, take ownership of it yourself, and we're not involved. Basically, that's what I got from it.
Lamar,
we're talking about on Boris's speech.
We'll talk about the speech on Sunday, Boris, and what we think about it. Mark gave his reaction.
Confusing, vague. Yeah. Someone said to me actually, because there's this new slogan, isn't it? What was it?
Stay alert.
Be alert. Be alert.
So I was actually arguing with someone about this, and they were saying, "No, be alert." you should understand what that means to be alert, because we get it.
I agree.
And I was like, I get it, right? I get that I need to be alert, right? But now is not the time to be vague. Now is the time to tell people exactly what they should be doing. There's no time for little clues or like.
Our population is dumb. Our population is stupid. Like,
Yeah,
we need
exactly.
told what to do.
Treat us like idiots. Treat us like absolute idiots. Tell us exactly what we need to do. Tell us the times that we should be going out, because that's the only way that this is not going to peak again.
Because people are splitting hairs. They're like, oh, can I, like, they're talking about very specific situations that are very unlikely to happen. They were like, oh, can I move house from one house to a third house, something like that, right? Or something stupid, right? These little tiny things. I'm just like, so that the overall message, I think, makes sense. But then why even why even change the slogan then? What is the point? Why say a couple of things that are going to confuse people?
Because he had to say something. That's why I would have preferred it if he just stayed in bed and was like, "Oh shit."
All he should have said is that nothing's going to change.
He came to that meeting like, "Oh shit, was that today?" Like he hadn't. Yeah. I knew that he was going to say some shit when he combed his hair. Because look, Boris doesn't normally comb his hair, so I know he's going to chat some shit today.
I wanted to know that. I want to know how when.
Why have you got scissors? Put your scissors down.
I'm thinking, put the scissors down.
It's not that deep. It's not that deep. Black power
anymore. But it's like, I want to know how many times it was written and when it was written and how many times it was reviewed. Like, because like there was a lot of stuff that was left out, and because he started speaking about specific things, it makes you realize he missed out quite a lot as well. Like, he didn't speak about when people can go see their families or
nope.
But he had a little picture of the cinemas when they're going to open. Like,
all he said is look, you can go back to work, but don't take public transport. Maybe ride a bike. What, after all this, Boris, you're still trying to endorse those damn bikes?
Lamar, the thing is though, we're changing what he's saying. He didn't say don't take public transport. He says try to avoid taking public transport.
All right, maybe I shouldn't use the hard don't.
Yeah, but that's
effectively you're saying a sensible thing. You're saying a sensible thing.
All right, but effectively, what he's doing is advising against taking public transport.
Exactly. But he should have said don't. If he really wanted to stop it, he should have just said don't.
What he should have said is do not get on trains.
Exactly.
But still, that's not a law that we have to abide by. It's just a suggestion.
But he, I just feel like, he should have just been much more direct, because we're dumb. We're a silly nation, and this has got. Hopefully, this has woken us up to how ignorant we are as a nation. Because what was happening in Italy, we were 2 weeks ahead of Italy, and we kept going, "Oh, their numbers are high because they're old, or because they kiss each other." Even I was saying it, right? And their cultures are very touchy-feely. They got old population, and we had 2 weeks to do something, and they
had Cheltenham.
And they're Cheltenham. That's the thing. Like, all this stuff. Like, I do feel sorry for them in a sense that, like, it's supposed to be like so tough to deal with, right? But the thing that should make it a sackable event is that 2 weeks where nothing was done, and they were talking about herd immunity. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and containing the virus. I promise you now, mark my words. Matt Hancock, the Minister of Health, he'll be out of the job by the end of May. Watch.
I'm surprised he hasn't. The thing that's annoying me about Matt Hancock was
he's rubbish, man.
He had this target to do the 100,000 testing every day, and at that time, was it last Thursday was the deadline or something, and instead of getting
lying about the numbers,
they got 120,000. Yeah, and even those numbers are not even the true reflection of the testing.
They're not true.
It's about how many was sent. Yeah, exactly. And then the next few days it dropped down. He hasn't been hitting the 100,000 anyway, and it's been kind of been massaged. And the thing is, the sad thing about this is, in that speech, I want Boris to kind of take. I would appreciate him to take some ownership and says that. So I have failed you, but now as a country we need to be clear as ever, and we need to do this, and this. Because I don't know if you remember, if you heard, they said that if we had 20,000 deaths, then we actually quite lucky, we did quite good. But now we're like 36,000 right now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Themselves on the back, weren't they?
And I'm thinking to myself, like, for me, I overall I don't like politics, etc. Because this is a good example that you say a whole load of nothing to me. Like you spoke for 15 minutes and I had no clarity in what you were saying. But I felt like if you just came together, somebody who's gone through the experience, if you just said that, look, let's extend another lockdown for another 3 weeks. We're doing very well, and step by step, giving me proper information where I can see my grandparents. Like my grandparents are stuck in their in their flat, yeah, not knowing when they can see their grandchildren, their great grandchildren and stuff. And I feel for them. You get what I'm saying? My grandpa's 90. You get what I'm saying? He doesn't know when it'd be safe to come see us or see.
But let's be real about that speech that he gave. Right, that wasn't for everyone. Those charts,
No.
those graphs, or whatever. That's not something that everyone at home can understand. There's people who are watching that and they were like, I do not know what's going on. What's the next step? After I listen to this speech tonight, what am I going to tell my children? What am I going to tell my grandmother who's in an old person's home who doesn't really understand the situation that's going on? When do I say that I can see her again? No one knows. We don't know.
You should have split up in terms of like social and emotional plan. Like we're hoping from the 1st of June that you can see two people from another household.
Financial.
And then he
Financial, yeah.
So yeah, and then he should have had a financial one where he's like, we're hoping to have, because that is massively important as well. But instead, it was kind of like a wishy-washy of both, where like, oh, you can go for unlimited runs in the park, but also cinemas might open. What's going on? Like, it's ridiculous.
It was not structured at all. But I want to say something as well. What I don't like, similar to the Brexit thing as well, it affects the whole UK, right? But with Brexit, for example, it was just a conservative thing when they did it. Don't get me wrong, they had an opposition board and everything goes up to a scrutiny panel. So they would look at it. Any bills that go ahead, they do analyze it. But what I didn't like, it was a party thing. They a lot of the opposition then went on and used it as a tool for their thing. And I noticed this with Sir Keir Starmer, like the Labour leader now. I'm saying it right, his name. He actually came out after the speech on the same news channel and came out and said, "Oh, well, I do understand what he was saying, but I don't agree with this." And I'm thinking, shut up. Right now, we don't need you guys to be
political. Yeah, that's
pulling down each other, and playing this game, because when the election comes, you're still not going to win it, probably. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, don't come out here and start criticizing. Go in there, in the room, you get your Lib Dems, your Labours.
For them, it is a political campaign. Because it's
not now, man. Not now.
Remember when we handled that well, and of course it's a political campaign.
No, I know, I get it, but
this is a massive crisis.
The thing is, there's people that are worse, because like there's people like if Boris Johnson came out and said it said a perfect speech, that's what's wrong with this country, because there's two sides to it. So if he came out with a perfect speech, there'd be people that were saying, like there's people that still wouldn't accept it, right? Just because he's Boris Johnson. And on the flip side, I saw a top comment in the Daily Mail article about his speech. It's like, it was a bad speech, but imagine if Jeremy Corbyn did it. I was like, what a useless comment.
And that's exactly what I was just gonna say. Like you're saying, the Labour leader right now shouldn't be trying to get points and stuff, But you have people, news outlets that are conservative, that are outrightly supporting that terrible speech and said that, well, at least it wasn't Corbyn that's in power. If it was Corbyn, power would be worse. And I'm thinking, this is not time to be talking about the opposition.
Okay, cool. We're saying the same point.
Yeah. So on another side.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone here should be point scoring, tit for tat, pulling down the other side. They are trying, and I know for certain it wasn't Boris's idea that this is what we're gonna do. He's got lobbyists, he's got people in his ears, got people everywhere just saying stuff, and he's the one that comes out and addresses the public. No one in the House of Commons, House of Lords came out while Boris was in hospital and said anything that moved. He'd come out and said, "We're moving the country forward now." Do you get it? That's the only one thing I could kind of say that he needs a pat on the back for, that he actually is doing that. But again, you have to as Prime Minister. But he, like I said, he's the one that was saying something. But they've sat around the table, all of them, to get it, and just.
Of course, man. What, you think he created that Nando's looking chart? He didn't do that.
Exactly. That's what
Microsoft Paint. Yeah.
Come on.
I think the best person that's come out of this is Rishi Sunak, the
Chancellor.
The Chancellor, just because he's going
to do well.
He's been the one that's been super clear. He has been simple what he's had to do. He's like, we have to pay everyone.
It's July. Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like he's been super clear. So it's gonna be a struggle for in terms of Boris Johnson's campaign next time around.
There's not going to be an Asian Prime Minister.
Don't
right out. There'll be an Asian Prime Minister for a black one. I feel like in England, you'd be surprised.
No, I agree, but not now. Not now.
But we're a long way away from that too. Right, next one, please.
So just another quick one about coronavirus and Donald Trump, though. Did you see his little tirade with the reporters? When he was basically, this American Chinese report from CNN said, "Why does it matter that we're the best tested in the world, where so many people are losing their lives?"
And quick question, sorry to cut. So she's definitely Chinese.
No, that's the thing.
I read that she was Chinese American.
We don't know.
I don't know.
No. I'm pretty sure that she.
From that video,
she was born in China. I read that somewhere. Yeah, she was born in China.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
From the video.
Wait, tell me about this.
From the video, it's an assumption that she's Chinese.
Yeah, but to be fair, she asked us a dumb question. I felt like we talk about politicizing, right? It was a silly question where he was like, "We're the best testers in the world, and we're increasing." And to be fair to America, their testing has been the amount of testing they're doing is pretty mad, right? But then she said, "Why is it a competition when people are losing their lives?" And he was like, "Ask China."
Oh.
And I'm of the mind where Trump is just an idiot, right? And I don't think, I actually don't think he was trying to be racist, right? I just think because he's always talking about China. What, like?
Yeah, no, and I'm so glad you said this. I do think he does come a lot with racist comments, but this one, yeah, if he wasn't, he was always trying to attack China in any way, and I don't think because the reporter was Chinese had anything to do with it. I remember when he said the Chinese virus.
Wait, guys, stop talking over each other. But you're saying that it's a bad coincidence.
I think it is a bad coincidence.
Yeah, I genuinely think. Do you know how much this guy tweets about China multiple times a day?
Have you not seen? There's a YouTube video. It's like 3 hours long, and it's just Trump saying China over and over again.
Yeah, I can believe that. He kept calling it the China virus.
Chinese virus.
The time.
So why did he call it that? He said, "Where did it come from?"
Exactly. He's on the crud global leader.
He's actually a troll. He's the sixth line of politics.
Yeah, it's actually a very good comparison and a very good segue we're about to get into. But what I would say is that, like, to your point, Monto, about people politicizing it. So CNN came out and they didn't attack the fact that he didn't answer the question, or he walked off and refused to answer the question. They started going, "Oh, Trump's a racist." I'm just like, by focusing on that, it was enabling all of his supporters to say that CNN are biased against Trump and stuff. It's just like, this is why people like Trump are in power, because he's the most defeatable candidate ever, but the media just don't know how to defeat him. It's ridiculous. I wanted to show you a nice little video, actually, very quickly, of Singapore. They've opened up their parks, but they've got these little dogs to enforce social distancing, and I just thought it looked quite terrifying. If you can you guys see that?
Yeah, man.
That's mad.
I know. Like,
if that was in London, how many of those things would have been destroyed by now?
What dog?
It's like a little robot dog that you probably can't see it because you're on a phone, Montel, but
I can see it now.
It's a little robot dog that just kind of makes sure that people are X amount apart. It's just made me think.
I would have had a bottle of Bacardi thrown at it if it was in.
I'm a bit scared. Like I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm scared of, like, government control, right? And I'm scared that this can enable certain government laws to come in place about, like, distancing, or like they're already fining people, right? But if there starts to be, like, police states where you get, like, detained for being 2 feet apart or breaking laws, that's the only thing I'm scared about. But
it looks a bit
for sure.
Black Mirror-esque.
And you're right. We're heading that way. We are heading that way with martial law, like, in the sense that they've changed the data privacy thing. They want people to download this tracing app so you can see if you come into contact with anyone else that has coronavirus. That is
that's exactly what I thought. I did look into it. It does seem okay, but I immediately thought, like, there's no way I'm giving them my address or my name or anything like that, right? But the thing that's worrying me now is that there's certain people that are kind of just, like, shaming others for not socially distancing. But, like, obviously it's important to social distance, and we've all been doing it. But, like, people were shaming Kyle Walker because he dropped some stuff over to his sister's house. His sister ran up to him and hugged him, and people were shaming him for it. And I was like,
what did you do before that, though? You had escorts.
That's not.
I know, yeah, that is done. Obviously, that is done. But people were shaming him for the sister thing, and it's just like we're getting to that point where people will start snitching at each other, and, like, who can you trust? Like, that's the only thing that scares me. Next story. We'll move very quickly now. you said about Donald Trump is the 6ix9ine of politics, but I wanted to bring up the fact that 6ix9ine actually broke the YouTube record for the biggest 24-hour debut in hip hop. Have you heard his
Mad,
new
innit?
song?
I've heard it.
I've heard you.
I like the video.
He done 43 million views in a day. I couldn't believe it, and he broke the Instagram record, right? And Instagram live stream record
At 2 million.
So every rapper that was afraid that we'd be glorifying someone who they perceive as a snitch, it has come true. Because do you think this has confirmed that the kind of snitch culture in hip hop, at least, doesn't mean anything anymore?
No, I think actually it's the opposite. You know, when they say any publicity is good publicity, I think he is painted badly. But I think that figures like this, often the worst people in showbiz are the most iconic, the people that have the most controversy around them. Look at people like Michael Jackson. Look at when the Beatles broke up. Look at Elvis. Like all these people. This is a Mexican guy that says the N-word and has multicolored hair. Yeah, hard. And has multicolored hair and who snitched to get out of jail. Of course, we're going to tune in to watch him and see what he says. We can't help it. It's in our nature.
And what's crazy? He's 24 years old, I swear. Like,
he's our age. Yeah.
He just don't care. Like, he's just a troll. He's just actually, he's made his brand, and it's just went all the way, bro. He just went all the way.
He can never enjoy the money though. Imagine he's making all this money, yeah, but he can't. And we did it the right way. We can enjoy it nicely. He can never come outside properly. You know what I'm saying? Relocating to other houses.
Money talks, man. Money talks. You'd be surprised. I think it's like a car crash. Like it's horrible to look at, but you can't actually look away.
You can't look away. Fair.
The song out of context is I think it's okay, but like when I first saw him on I think it was Gummo was the first song I probably heard of. I was like, this guy is a bit different. It's a tune, but this guy's a bit different. Like, there's something weird about him. And then little do I know, like it's even a year later, 2 years later, he's breaking records out here. He's nutter. Final story I wanted to touch on was this one, where how angry have you ever been at an ex-lover or girlfriend? Because a man in Kansas, he was angry over child custody arrangements, right? So he asked the Kansas court if he could fight his wife to the death. So he wanted to have a sword fight with his ex-wife for the custody of their child, and unfortunately, the court turned it down. And just to rub it, and just for banter, the man is now asking them to evaluate his ex-wife rather than him to check if his ex-wife is saying.
He's not okay, man.
Look, if Tyrion Lannister wants trial by combat, then let Oberyn and the Mountain fight. That's what I say.
So David Ostrom asked in a January 3rd court filing to be allowed to fight his former wife and her attorney so that he can rend their souls from their bodies. And it's all over visit. It's all over.
Can you say that word? Can you say that word again? What did you say? Did you say attorney?
Attorney.
Yeah, attorney. Yeah, he said it so weird.
No, Gabs, you're petty for that one. You didn't need to.
Nah, because he said it weird. Nah, they don't want to say that.
Let it slide.
Nah, bro. I was like, nah, that's very weird.
I thought let's just move past that one. Right. Anyway, wow, trial by combat. That's new.
Yeah. Have you ever wanted to punch an ex? That's my question.
No, I don't want to punch anyone.
No.
Sword fight?
No.
Slide tackle?
What I've wanted to do is a bit more definitive than just punching someone, but we'll talk about that off camera.
Mm-hmm. If you had to hit a WWE finishing move, because we're all about quality.
Stone Cold Stunner.
Okay, yo, man, out of nowhere.
Oh, out of nowhere, yeah. Like what's having breakfast or something. Gabriel, what would you hit?
Why are you laughing?
What finishing move?
The Batista bomb.
Oh, that would be savage.
Batista bomb.
Yeah, that would be crazy. But yeah,
what are you, man?
What would I hit? What would be like what's the worst one? I think the people's elbow has got to be for me, just because it's all very showy. Still on the street, and just like just mini rock over the body.
Do you remember 5-Star Frog Smash? Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Oh no! Switching music to someone
Music. Hey. Wasn't that just a big kick?
Big kick.
We should do a topic on WWE, man. We could do a whole topic on WWE.
That was just a big boot.
Good old.
The big
619 to a girl.
You need
Why are
to
you laughing like that?
I'm just thinking about 619 or something.
think about to execute that, right? You'd actually have to lead her into some ropes.
Yeah.
And have her dangling there, and then do that off the rope.
No, you could do it on some staircase, probably.
Or choke slam.
Mad. Yeah, there's a few there.
But,
right.
That's what's going on in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, cheers for that, Ant. It's nice to stay informed.
Yeah.
Stay informed. There's no more reports of old men wiping their nostrils on women in grocery stores.
Crazy, man. I was going to bring that during the racism one. I was like, people have, like, some people have the audacity to wipe their noses on store clerks at the moment. What, like, do you think they won't try and racially abuse someone? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think was stopping them?
Oh, yeah, they have no limits out in the States. Right. Gabriel.
So my last topic is a scenario-based question. I just want to know what you guys would do in this situation. Just quite fun and semi-serious, but quite fun. So I'll read it out. It says, one day, you're too close to a front accident that results in a portal through time opening up, sucking you up and other nearby bystanders into it. You arrive where you were, but turns out it's 500 years into the future.
Wait. Could you stop reading this like GCSE English, please? I beg you, put some life into it, man.
Yeah, about attorney.
Hey, relax, bro.
Come correct.
Okay. One day, you're too close to a front accident that results in a portal through time opening up, sucking you up and other bystanders into it. You arrive where you were, but it turns out you're 500 years into the future.
I love it.
In a scientifically and technologically advanced world. Basically, the scenario is for 5 years, you have to stay there, and there's no way going back into the past to see your friends and loved ones. But there's a breakthrough where you settled down, you have a family now, and you have your new set of friends. But now you can go back in time to where your previous time and go back there. But you can't go back in the future with your family and stuff. What are you gonna do?
Can I not wait? Oh, okay, wait. All right. Oh, I see what you're saying.
So you go 500. So let me say. So you go 500 years into the future, yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
At that time, you go back. You go into the future. There's no way to come back. Yeah. You make do what you can do. You can't go back. You make a family now. You got your new sets of friends. Now there's a chance for you to go back into the past, but you're going back in the past. But 5 years has passed as well. So technically, your friends and family could have moved on, but there's a chance that you can go see them again.
This is so.
But once you go back, you can't go back in the future. Again.
This is extremely hypothetical.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I guess I'll go first. I don't. Honestly, it's hard to answer that question because I don't know what is this the current life I live now?
Is the current life we live right now?
All right. My life in 500 years would have to be pretty good.
We might be out of quarantine by then.
Yeah, exactly. I assume that me having a wife and family means that I've got a loved one out there and kids to look after. So it must be my life.
There's buff people in the future. Clearly,
yeah, exactly. Everyone's mixed race. My wife in 500 years, it must be quite good. So I don't see why I would go back.
That is a tough question.
You got a house on Mars.
No, but you want to see your mom and dad again.
Yeah, but I have a wife and kids.
See, this is the more dilemma.
Family there, and I mean, I had a life before.
There's a massive benefit from going back after though, because you have the knowledge of the next 500 years. Do you know what you could do with that knowledge? You could set up like an empire or something.
All right. what's the rules? Can I take a phone back to this time?
No. The only thing you can bring back is you as the person. That's it.
All right, but I can absorb.
No, you can't bring back no pictures, no anything.
You can add them. You add the knowledge. Of
No,
head.
it's here. So it's in your head. Every experience is in your head. But
500 years. I need a notepad.
If I'm honest, If I'm honest, what I would do is I would look on some sports pages or whatever and see the predictions for see the scores.
That's the plot of
a load of betting shops.
That's the Back to the Future 2. It was a great movie. He goes to 2015, but one of his enemies brought back a sports book where it has all the results of every baseball game for the past 10 years, right? And he basically owns the whole of America because of that.
I swear.
The thing is, though, it's the butterfly effect, because once you start to predict certain scores, maybe it actually triggers certain other outcomes, and then you find out that actually the scores don't actually come true.
That's the thing. Like, do you like when it comes to time travel? There's a lot of different theories of how it works, right? So it's like, this is a very deep topic. But if you go back, is that timeline? There's a theory that timeline that you've gone back from continues on. Or when you go back, it's completely wiped out, and it won't be that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you're 500 in the future, you go back. Does that mean that your kids will never be born?
That is butterfly effect, isn't it?
No, it's.
I think Dragon Ball Z did the best thing about timelines and going back in time. If you go back in time, you're going back into another. It's an alternate universe, basically. But your past has happened. So whatever happened in our past has already happened in our universe. But when you're going back in time, you're going to an alternative universe. So you're changing that alternative future, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the Avengers theory, isn't it? Where it's all singular, but then I know it's confusing. My brain's hurting already.
Right. So okay. Right, I'm in the future, 500 years. I got a wife and kids or whatever. Do I have a job? And you know, there's too many.
No, it's up to you, Lamont. So basically,
you mean it's up to me?
You guys,
it's up to me.
No. What I'm saying is, it's up to you what you feel like you can do in those 5 years. So I like to think if I went in time forward for 500 years, in those 5 years, I like to think, well, I'm gonna be 29. I think I will get like a wife and kids. I think I will acclimatize very nicely. I'll get a job. I think I'll be good. You know what I'm saying? It's whether or not when I go back,
I suppose.
I
suppose if I went forward in time 500 years, I'd be a relic, wouldn't I?
You'd be an alien. Like you'd be like.
Yeah. You'll never. It'll take you 5 years to get used to it. Like get your head around. Raw. Boy, what happened? What?
There might be aliens that like just live with humans.
You might even look the same. You might look like now, and then in 500 years' time, they've got tails and shit. I'm going back home, bro.
I came back to London from Newcastle and I didn't know the slang then. Imagine going into the future and everyone's like, and I'll be like, what? What is?
Wait, that was Newcastle still, wasn't it?
Gab, in 500 years' time, they say Drake was shit. You'd come back straight away.
I always think, what do you think?
No, stop that.
Sound like in 500 years' time, it would just be beeps and boops. Like the music in the future, it would just be like it would be completely different to what we think it would be. It won't be.
But it could be amazing though, and it could be amazing. I think my ears are thinking, "Raw, is this what music's like now?" My ears, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Have you seen not to do time travel, but Altered Carbon on Netflix? Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
My person is trash. But
yeah, it doesn't the setting is sick, but it doesn't really realize its full potential. But there's basically everyone has a chip in their back of their neck, and your soul basically can be transferred to different vessels and stuff. That's the thing. They say in 500 years, like the concept of a human might not even exist. Like it could just be. Again, this is a deep topic, but like if I made all of myself robot, but I still had my brain and my heart and stuff, like would I still be a human, or just a robot with a human heart and a brain? So that's what I'm saying. Like we might not be able to reproduce 500 years. It might be through machines.
Gabriel, what I will say is that's a terrible question. But what I do like about it, yeah, I like. No, wait, hang on. No. I'm not insulting you. I'm insulting that scenario, right? But I do actually like the set. I do like the topic. I do like the theme, and I think that we should pick that up and discuss that in more detail.
Okay.
But there's too many variables, man. I don't know what kind of life I'm living in the future. It's like
Are people racist in the
it's like Boris's speech. I don't really know what's going on. I don't
No,
know.
man. Just think of Futurama, man. Like we could all be like Fry.
Futurama. I would not go back if it was like Futurama. That'd be amazing.
Futurama's live. My
Exactly.
best friend's a robot who drinks. That's mad.
Yeah, but Gab said as well, though, like, is the 5 years continue now? So you'd be 2025. Imagine like everyone that you loved just moved on. It just thought you clapped out, but these times you're on a different time.
There's another big variable. Imagine the quarantine gets worse and it wipes out the entire human population. You go back and it's just you, and you're
just dust, fam, and just
exactly.
empty buildings, fam. I Am Legend. Oh, that's it.
That'd be dead.
Can you go back?
You got to choke out a dog.
Yeah, can you be like, actually, okay,
buy a return ticket.
Exactly. Back to return to sender, please.
I don't know if you could. What if it was like a utopian world where racism didn't exist anymore and people had actually learned to live harmoniously? Why would you come back?
But like, what film is
So
that?
I miss my mum and dad and sister, man.
There's films like that where like everything, like someone goes to the future and everything's literally perfect, but they don't like it. It's like not natural. And I forget what film.
Oh, what film is that?
I can't remember, but like it's like is that a utopia where everything? Obviously, it'd be great.
It's called Utopia.
Huh?
I think it's called Utopia.
It might be, but
Well, what did he say?
It's called Utopia.
Oh, the movie's called Utopia. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay, all right.
But yeah, like, would you want everything to be absolutely perfect? Like, you can't make any mistakes in life, or
No,
it's
that's dead,
sunny
man.
every day. Like,
That's dead, man. I need
Like,
some
I'm
variables.
a bit magic. But yeah, it was really nice a couple of weeks ago, and then it rained for one day. I actually really liked the fact that it rained. It was kind of like it was like refreshing. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
but I don't mean that kind of shit. I just mean like peace on earth, mercy mild. That's that kind of stuff. Not rain and shit.
Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like,
starving.
imagine, like, again, it's like socialism, right? But like, imagine everyone everyone can eat whatever they want, and no one has a job. They just live in the earth, and they provided with everything they need. Like, is that would we be fulfilled living like that? Probably not.
Nah.
Well, I think it's
from this time.
I think it's it's instinctive in humans to always want to be better.
And everyone,
That's why we crave a hierarchy. Hang on, sorry, we crave a hierarchy system.
Yeah.
So go on, Gabs. I know you're.
No, we're going off. Are you guys staying or going back, man? We're doing all these hypotheticals, yeah. But what we do, like,
What do
okay,
you mean? I'm discussing your question that you put out here with no facts. Look, all I know is that I have.
What do you mean? There's no fact. This is the thing. This is why I love human beings, because we've got imagination. Why do we struggle to imagine, bro? We imagine what's like in 100 years. Like, just imagine, bro. It's not
playing with my life. You're playing with my life here, and you've given me no fact. Oh, I got a wife and a you. What? Like, what if I don't even like her? Like, what? I don't know.
What do you? Then why did you marry her? What do you mean, bro? Why are you marrying someone that you don't like her, bro?
Bro, I got zapped 500 years into the future. Maybe I didn't have a choice. Where's my citizenship? I'm not a citizen in whatever land this is now. I can't even talk. I'm a relic. I'm talking like I'd sound to them like how like Henry VIII would sound to me now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's true though. It's true.
Like, what am I gonna do? I can't chat to no girl.
No, but
come here, thusly. What am I gonna say? Like, that's not gonna work, is it?
Do you guys think the English language is gonna advance even more than that? Like, I don't.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is.
How can it change? How can it change?
It's just human nature. See, this is the problem with our humanity right now. We think we're so special. Do you know how small we are in terms of
in history? The English language is not changing like that, bro. How can we change?
How do you know?
You're saying the word "bruv" in the sentence like it hasn't changed in the past 20.
My imagination is saying that it's not going to change.
Bruv is a new word, bro.
Montel. It's my imagination saying in the next 500 years, the way we're talking now is not going to change. It's going to be like this.
Do you know what, Gabs? Come back with a better question, yeah? with more of a topic around it, yeah. And I will answer that question.
No, but the thing is though, you want to know why I like this topic? Because it's got us all engaged. It's got us talking. Look at all the smiles on our
You
faces.
can't
bruv,
even
like,
teach your
bro,
son football.
Okay.
You have to do- what's the
Here's what I'm
first
gonna do
sport?
separately.
No,
I'm
what's
gonna
the-
go and do some research on the English language and how much words have changed. And typical words that Gabs uses, I'm gonna go find the lineage of that word and then let you
Yeah,
know
no, yeah.
how long that
Like-
took to change.
Like it hasn't
you
come
lot
in the
can say
past
some
5
stuff.
years. Yeah.
You fool.
what do you mean, bro? What do
Bruv.
you mean, man?
Exactly, bro. What I mean is certain words that even in our lifetime been added to the dictionary recently.
Yeah.
Recently,
Bro's
Stop
been around for 100
Gabs,
years, man.
do you say where you at, or do you say where for out now? Like, you don't say that, do you?
it.
Come on, man. Come on.
It's probably Henry VIII is probably having this conversation like there's no way that our language is changing.
But you know what? Think about it.
Shakespeare
Yeah,
was
the
like,
way they spoke,
it's gonna remain
the
forever.
way,
Gee,
The way
that
they
went
spoke-
hoodies back in the day, bro. Look at you now.
it did. Well, the way they spoke, because they didn't have no swag.
look
But
like that.
the way they spoke then didn't make sense like that, bro. Like, I don't see how you can, why you would change how we're speaking now. Like, we're far out. Like, nah, bro. Nah, man. This is not changing.
You're
That is
We've hit the-
record-
Lamar and Mons, we've hit the
You're
pinnacle of
an
the English.
idiot.
We've hit the pinnacle of the English language right now.
No,
It's
we
not going to
haven't.
change, man.
We've hit the
The Gabs-
pinnacle of the
Gabs just
English
said-
language. Oh,
We're not. It's not going to change. It's not going to change.
Come on,
like,
man.
how's it?
Yeah, you say bruh. That's not
Bruh.
English. That's not English.
ridiculous.
Gee, man he said that it doesn't make sense. Nigga, you got old, fam. You're not born then.
You
It's not
need,
for you.
you need to study linguistics, Gabs. Come on, man.
It's not
They
for
were
you,
backwards
bro.
back then, bro. No, look,
linguistic
honestly,
scholar.
we've hit.
You actually need to go. You need to go back to school, my nigga. Like, come on.
Hey, look.
I don't know why
Hopefully
you
the
said
N word. Hopefully the N word won't be said in 500 years time. But anyway,
We'll find a
we've hit
way.
we've hit
Well,
the
according to
pinnacle.
you, it will. Because
Yeah.
What do you mean?
we're at the
What-
pinnacle of the English language. So
Exactly,
according to
yeah.
you, it will.
Yeah.
Even
Well,
the way
obviously,
we talk, is a colloquialism. It's not. This isn't the English language that should be spoken.
No.
Why do you think this?
But what I'm trying to say is this, yeah. Can you guys think in 500 years time that English is going to change that dramatically, bro?
Yes.
Like, you guys,
Yes.
I
You
think in
think so?
50 years.
Have you
Yeah.
seen have you seen videos of like Saxon, like a Saxon accent from like what 300, 400 years ago? It's like
nah,
unintelligible.
man, I don't
I
interest me.
don't know how they do that though.
What do you mean?
How do they know?
Voice notes from back then.
Time
You know
travel.
what? Yeah, Mons,
Time
you know what? Mons
It must
raised
be
a good point.
phonetically how
Yeah,
it's written.
you know how things were written, but we don't know how they actually spoke. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing been recorded to say that.
Oh yeah, Shakespeare was
Yeah,
saying
like
bruh,
in Cockney from Scandinavia.
Yeah, but Gab, say there was a war, right?
Yeah,
And what happened is that the people from two different countries had to migrate over, and over the years, in one area in that country, they had a sort of patois, so like a broken language, which often happens. You get like broken French and broken whatever,
yeah.
and they created that, and it was like, I don't know, broken East London Cockney and Parisian French, and that was a new language.
Lord have
And then that
mercy,
man
bro.
migrated back over to the UK, the area that you're going to live in 500 years. And then that location is then influenced by that new dialect. So then, of course, you'd have a new language.
I think they
Yeah,
really.
No, but you're saying new language. I'm talking about the English language, bro.
As
Yeah,
we
but that
know
might
it.
not
You won't
exist, man.
recognize it. You won't recognize it.
Yeah.
Wait,
That
wait,
might
you're
wait,
telling
wait,
me-
wait.
completely.
I get what he's saying. He's saying that. Maybe I'm making this up and he's not saying this, but I feel like he's trying to say that English language won't evolve. But
Save
it
him,
might,
save
it might
him.
not be around in 500 years.
Okay, that's yeah. So we're saying two different words. I'm saying that the English language is going to definitely be around 500 years time. You're saying that it's not gonna be there. That's what you're saying.
That's not what you're saying. Because
That's
you were
what
trying to no. Because you were
Even
trying
though-
to you were trying to justify the fact that you would live 500 years in the future, right? So why the fuck would I live there if the English language didn't even exist? What am I gonna speak?
Glebe.
Who said blah blah blah? Like, you're the one who said language like that. I didn't bring that up. You're bringing up these weird things, bro. I wasn't saying that. I was saying
That's
You
not
go
what he
around-
does every day.
You
Glebe.
go around speaking
Glebe.
English like, oh, hi, you're right. My name's Gabriel, right? And everyone's like, what are you gonna do, bruv? You can't do nothing.
I mean, man, learn new language, I adapt, but I still think the English language is gonna be around, bro.
So what happened?
What?
For 5 years, yeah, he just get his dick out with his horn. He won't just say that. He just get it out.
That's universal. That's always going to be
Yeah.
universal.
Those might not be around
Disgusting.
in 5 years. You never know.
No, but I'm coming back, man. I miss my family, man.
Maybe in 500 years you might finally take off that hoodie. But yeah.
Yeah, when I get a gym, man.
Guys, I appreciate it.
Imagine there's no barbers in 500 years time.
There'll be no barbers in 500 years.
Then that's crazy. I'll start.
Yeah, there might just be like an app or something.
Yeah, you just change your outfit from like you just press it and it just changes for you.
Like GTA or something.
Yeah. And just get.
If you want a good book, a good book recommendation.
Like that, like just easy.
It's a good book recommendation. The Dark Forest, where they literally go 500 years into the future, and it's a lot like what we're talking about. But they're all speaking Anglo-Chinese, which is probably more realistic.
What the hell's Anglo-Chinese? What the hell's Anglo-Chinese?
Because China became so big, it just homogenized.
Hey, I think our friend speaks Anglo-Chinese.
Right. So that was several crossing. So that was several crossing. Yeah. Quarantine.
Oh no.
I'm ignoring Montel. Well, let's ignore Montel. But this has been episode 7,
why?
and that was my segment. That was
Childish.
my goofy ending segment. I think that was. I think my scenario was very funny. I think it was very good.
I like that.
It was good,
wait,
man.
wait,
I just want more from it. I want to come back
Guys, will you
and
come
talk
back
about
then?
that more because I enjoyed it
Come
so
back.
much.
What's Montel saying?
You'll come back, Gabs.
Right, can we mute Montel because he's not listening? But anyway, that was a good episode. I found it funny. I felt like the first segment was amazing, and I think it was very dark. But honestly,
Wait, are we doing what's going on?
No,
Wait, guys, are you reviewing our own podcast?
Yeah,
We're on
yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah,
He said
I
that
give
the
it 5
first of it
stars.
was
But
the first
I
of it
give
was
5
dark.
stars.
Yeah, it was very funny and hilarious, but the first bit was very dark.
Yeah.
You must
Wait,
be
how
getting
racist is
sponsored
that?
by Rotten Tomato or something. What's going
Yeah.
on?
No, my
How you
critique,
leaving?
my critique is A1. But anyway, Lamar, can you do what you do best? You close the show wonderfully. Can you just do
Yeah,
Gabs,
so
racist is dark.
right, yeah, I will end it there. As Gab said, it's been a terrific episode. But yeah, no, we wanted to end on a bit of levity, but we felt like there was some important stuff that we had to talk about early on. We want to keep bringing you guys because we're versatile. We want to keep bringing you guys with. We don't always want to talk about funny stuff. We want to talk about some serious stuff that's going on, stuff that's trending. If you guys have anything that particularly touches you, let us know. DM us, and you're very mature. Yeah, let us know. I knew that would get a lot. With these lot, it's like I don't know. Like kids,
Imagine, yeah, we went from intellectual conversation,
Right?
just got lower and lower and just stupid up.
You know what's mad? Do you know what's mad? I'm literally saying about how deep and versatile we are, right? And then I said, "Oh, give us a topic that touches you." I was waiting for the response. But yeah, now give us a topic that means something.
I was thinking about something else.
DM us, and we'd love to talk about it. But we've been Zebra Crossing. I've been Lamal and Gabs Monts. Thanks for listening, Zebra Crossers, and we'll see you next week.